Why do you think you only date white women?
One, a lot of the Asian women that I'm attracted to are dating white guys. Number two is there's probably like an internal validation thing of like immigrant family, growing up seeing Caucasian women on movies, and there's just like this sense of I will be validated if I date a white woman. That doesn't feel fully true when I say it.
See, I actually think a lot of people think it's like a superiority thing, but I almost think if we're associated with a white person, then we won't get mistreated anymore because it's like we get to hide behind them.
I can kind of see what you're saying. I don't get the mistreated thing because I didn't really experience kind of that. But I do think there is a similar sort of thing of like, if I get married to a white woman, I'm part of America, which is crazy because I was born here and I, you know.
So there is a part of you that felt like you didn't fit in, which is like very valid.
I feel like that's like 20% for me. Like it's not a huge thing.
The other 80 is just like, I look good with a white chick on my arm.
Well, to be sure, I like every color of women, obviously.
If they're hot enough.
And nice enough.
I'm going to say something that I know is going to make a lot of people mad, but I got to get it off my chest. I'll never understand why Asian people tap dance for the white man the way they do. And this video isn't me hating on white people, none of that. I don't hate nobody. I'm just stating an observation I have. The way Asian people tap dance, like there'll be Asian people who like literally hate the way they look being Asian, and they'll try everything they can to look like a white person. And I genuinely don't understand it. Then they'll tap dance for the white person. Like, I don't, like, they came over there and did horrible stuff to y'all. Like, I gotta say, you know, we black people went through slavery and that's terrible. Bro, they vaporized your people over there. Like, they turned them to dust.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about, or rather, we're going to be reacting to Asians who came onto the internet and they were busy telling on themselves on why they prefer dating white men to black men.
Right, so let's watch what we prepared for you and then we come back and talk about it. You can let us know what you think about this episode. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. Let's watch.
Honestly, yeah. And it's really unfortunate and really embarrassing and shameful that Asians do crave that proximity to whiteness so badly that we're willing to not be in solidarity with other BIPOC or black, queer, brown folk. Like, it's... we can always boil things down to like childhood and upbringing, but I like to always say, like, this is what I kind of learned in therapy. Like, once you're an adult, and you realize you have free will and you realize you have the agency to unlearn, relearn, like unpack and discover life, that you start to realize how fucked up it is that we want that and we crave that proximity to whiteness. Like, I will say that is oftentimes with a lot of Asian Americans that I meet.
Fetishization has entered the chat on Asian TikTok and the girls are fighting. In the wake of H Mart Gate with Madeline, there's been a lot of conversation in the comments, especially for the black community, about fetishization. What people don't get about fetishization of Asian people is that it is way more common than people think. To the extent that anytime I see a white man and an Asian, usually woman, or Asian gay guy, for me, it just like automatically I'm like mistrustful. And it shouldn't be the case because, you know, love is love, da-da-da-da-da-da. One reason why I think it's so common is because there isn't as much of a singular mass culture of Asian-ness in America. You have Koreans, Japanese people, Chinese people, etc., etc. In America, Asians comprise of about 6% of the population, contrasted with 16% of America being Hispanic and 12% being black. So that already small percent is broken down even more such that the pool of people who truly understand your culture and your background is really, really small. Couple that with the scarcity mentality that a lot of Asian people, especially from immigrant backgrounds, grow up with, i.e. me, for example. And it makes sense why a lot of Asian people seek out white partners or want the validation of white people when it feels like there is no validation coming to them. I've been put in this position, especially in my earlier dating days, especially as a teen, high schooler, etc., where it's like, I will take whatever love or whatever acceptance someone will give me. And often that meant being a target of fetishization. Because surprise, surprise, a lot of people are not into Asians. I'm saying this not because I excuse thirsting over feeding over the white man. I am over those days hardcore. I have to learn the hard way. But I do think there's a lot to learn from other ethnic minority communities who just kind of know that there is iffiness when it comes to validation from white people and white men specifically.
Ryan Coogler gave us 2 hot Asians who were married to each other in Sinners. That hardly ever happens. They were so fine and both actually liked each other. And this means a lot to me, because in a lot of modern media, Bridgerton, Joy Luck Club was written by a Chinese woman. And basically all those girls chose white men. Asian men are never seeing themselves as the love interest for Asian women. And that's caused a lot of division in our community.
You rarely see same-race couples outside of white people in the media because it serves as a function of white supremacy. The way to destroy a community and subjugate its people is by getting them to see value in something outside of themselves. You don't see value in who you are or where you came from. It's easier for me to sell you my way of life. This essentially is how white supremacy has functioned at every level. Speak my language, not your language. Practice my religion, not your religion. Wear my clothes, not your clothes. See value in my women, not your women. One of the main tenets of figuring out how to subjugate a people is how to do it without force. How do you get people to subscribe to their own subjugation? Find things for them to desire within it. And one of the main ways that they're doing that right now is through the promotion of interracial relationships. You don't find the people in your community desirable. How can you maintain your heritage and history? You can't. That's the goal, right? Because the people who have forgotten themselves, they don't fight back because they don't know what they're fighting for. This is why people try to put so much hate on black people, specifically black women, because we protect not only ourselves, but our community so ferociously. We know that the goal is eradication, assimilation, and subjugation. This is the strategy that was used on the white people in Europe. This is the reason why they act the way that they act now. They don't remember their history. They don't remember their heritage. They don't remember their way of life. All they know is capitalism. Capitalism is their new identity. And whatever identity that capitalism allows them to create. Why gender theory and political identity is so important to them. Because they don't have any other identities to fall back on. They're too far gone. They're too far removed. What they end up doing is fighting for fragmented versions of reality. This is why it's so important for us as people of color to allow nothing else to be taken from us than what already was taken from us. Because capitalism's goal is enmeshment and replacement. People with no identity can be sold one. This is why it's so important to show people of color as they are and not how white people wish that we would integrate into their society. Because white people allow their cultures to be enmeshed and stolen, and look how that turned out. It's all of our fates if we don't protect our culture and our people. Yes, it's important to depict people of color with people in their community because our communities are important. It is who we are. It is our identity, because when you don't have identity, you go searching for identity. And capitalism comes along and sells you one.
Monoracial Asians who want to deny Wasians our Asianness because we have white privilege and because we don't face the same kind of racism that they do, which is 100% correct. No denial, no argument there. I find this so curious because, and this might be controversial, but experiencing racism is not what makes a person Asian. And it's certainly a part of the Asian American experience, way too big of a part of the Asian American experience. But it's a part and it's not what makes somebody Asian. And if facing discrimination or like oppression is a requirement to be Asian, where does us having our identity denied weigh into that? Where does that fall? Can that make us more Asian?
I did see and watch that Korean American girl's video where she said that if you're a foreigner in Korea and you are not white, Korean people don't think you're pretty and don't consider you pretty because of toxic Korean beauty standards. She did get a lot of heat for that. Well deserved. And she did follow up with an apology video that I did watch where she did own up and apologize for her use of words, her tone, and being outdated and wrong on the whole thing. Here's the thing. Korean people don't give a shit what your race, ethnicity is. If you are pretty, you are pretty. They will tell you you're pretty. Korean people have no fucking problem telling people that they're pretty. They will tell you, and they will mean it. Okay? And I'm not saying that, you know, her statement can't be true. There are Korean people out there who are incredibly racist, who are incredibly close-minded, and who are incredibly ignorant, as do all other countries. It's not just Korea. Listen, I just think it's kind of crazy to be posting something like that with the verbiage being used in there, that if you are not white, it is not right. That is basically what I heard out of that entire video. I also feel like Korean people don't apply the toxic Korean beauty standards.
So why is whiteness so often an ideal of beauty in Asian society?
Beauty is, which I think you should ask yourself where these standards actually come from.
So this one is trying to show you what is not elegant and use these models. And anti-blackness is very common in Asian beauty culture. For example, there's this Thai ad whose tagline was translated as, "Just being white, you will win." And it had numerous images of a woman in blackface. And given how many beauty products in Asia are about lightening your skin, it is easy to assume it's all Eurocentrism. But in fact, a lot of these Asian norms draw on many cultural factors, and a lot of them tie to patriarchy. For example, in many Asian societies, fair skin has been beautiful for millennia. So for example, in historic China, a beautiful Tang woman had very fair skin, often embellished with the use of makeup. Similarly, historically in Korea, fair skin, Mughal India. It's because the fair skin signaled privilege. And so they could be indoors, not tan, and have people take care of their beauty, because the way they presented themselves was a symbol of the power and wealth of the men of their family. I mean, you don't wake up like this. This historic Korean woman had somebody help her. So you already had a culture that prized fairness, and then with the rise in the age of exploration or exploitation of seeing people who looked different, it basically doubled that anti-blackness, which absolutely does not make it okay. But what it means is, so if you're Asian or Asian American, you have to be very cognizant of the negative and harmful stereotypes that you have been susceptible to and that you have to choose to counteract.
As someone who's been called whitewashed their entire life, this is why I don't see it as an insult anymore, and why I don't think you should either. Honestly, I used to take it so personally, because when someone calls you whitewashed, they're basically saying you don't care about your culture. And don't get me wrong, I think internalized racism is real, but when we start to police each other about who is cultural enough or who is whitewashed, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Because the reality is, most people who grew up whitewashed didn't have a choice. Our cultures were not present or celebrated where we were raised, and I think insulting each other about choices we didn't get to make ourselves is not productive. And honestly just reinforces the idea that Asian Americans are a monolith and that there's a right or wrong way to be a POC. So now I don't really take being called whitewashed as an insult, because to me what really matters is that I'm proud of my heritage and I make an effort to connect with it. That's my hot take. Bye.
One of the biggest icks I get when making new friends is when I meet Asian girls and they tell me that their type is white guys. I want to make a distinction here that, yeah, you can marry a white guy, but there's a difference between marrying a white guy and telling someone that your type is only white guys. I actually do understand marrying a white guy because you don't want to deal with Asian family dynamics. But if you are only attracted to white men, I think that's rooted in internalized racism and white supremacy. The two girls that I met this year that told me they're only into white guys, one was Indian, the other was Vietnamese, and neither could articulate to me why they were only into white guys. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying you have to marry or date within your race, but I'm just saying it's weird when someone is only into white guys. Let me know if you agree. To each their own, I guess.
East Asian Americans specifically, where I'm speaking from, but like in my experience, I questioned this at such a young age, and I think that's because I didn't grow up in I grew up in a predominantly white space, but then when my parents got divorced, we ended up moving to like a lower income area, and I went to school with primarily Black and brown and like Hispanic folk, and everything changed when I was around other people of color, honestly. Like when I was just around white people, I did want to like look white, feel white, act white. And like, you know, everyone back then, I remember Twinkie was a thing. And then when I moved to like the different neighborhoods, and also then I moved to LA because I'm from DC, and then I like moved my life over here, and I have not gone back to the East Coast. I'm never gonna live on the East Coast again unless it's like New York or like possibly Miami, but I want my Spanish to get better first. But it's our responsibility as a community to be better and to do better. And I oftentimes find it so disheartening and so disappointing in my own community. Like, let's just recap this year alone. Like, Kevin and his goddamn blackface, the purple YSL blush situation, and all these Asian creators felt like they had so much fucking right to say it's a brightener. But no, it's a fucking blush. Yes, you can use it as a brightener, but that's not how it was marketed, and they missed the whole fucking point with what other black creators were saying. The Euphoria Foundation, oh my god, I just spit. The fucking UTI podcast, Esther, like, and I honestly think this is like a kind of like a direct contrast in Asian Americans, like, their stereotype growing up. I remember everyone always thought that I was supposed to be so smart because I was Asian, and I was just born with these genes for math, but I'm fucking dyslexic and I have ADHD and other neurodiversities that I don't really care to qualify on here or like to surmise on here. But like, I think the contrast of us being this stereotype of like smart, academic, overachievers has now, we've like slid into like the opposite end of like boba, raving, ABG culture, and like, and even then ABG culture, like they don't, like a lot of people who reference themselves as ABGs, or like people who say they wanted ABG baddie, they don't even know where that like term comes from originally, and it has like a dark not a dark history, but it had kind of but yeah, I don't know. Whenever I read comments like this, it makes me so freaking sad, because like for me, I don't identify with this craving of whiteness. I live in the Bay Area, and it's like a predominantly Asian place, and white place. But I remember 10 years ago, this was like a much more diverse community. But I adamantly stay away from the marina. I don't go to North Beach. I stay in the Mission. I stay in the Castro. I stay in San Jose and Oakland. Like, I'd rather die than be pregnant, and I also rather die than go to the marina. Like, I don't know what else to say with that, but yeah. I just want the community to be better. And we're so stuck in our own politics because all of us, the only thing we care about is fucking representation for some reason, as like the pinnacle hallmark of anti-racism against Asians in this country. But I digress. Asian Americans need to do better. That's why I started my decentering whiteness thing in the first place. But now everyone's just commenting Oxford study, Piccolo study, fucking mail truck study. I don't know, there are mail trucks in front of me, but it's really hard to like be Asian and exist to do the work to unpack, because people still are going to accuse us of siding with the whites or siding with whiteness. I don't know where I was going with this video. This ended up turning into a rant. If you made it this far, I don't know what to tell you. Go watch Arcane.
So guys, welcome back. One thing that Black Americans have often been saying for a long time, and that has been proven in this episode today, is that when Asians date white people, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, it is because they are seeking for approval, not only from the white community, but from society in general. And this is because they want to be in proximity to whiteness so much that sometimes they don't even realize when they themselves start discriminating against other people of color. But then again, what we always say in this channel is that there is a time that people must wake up from whatever it is that has been going on in their community. And when in this type of clips you hear one or two Asians calling out each other over this type of behavior, I feel like this is a step towards the right direction.
Right, and also this reminds me of a video that went quite viral on TikTok of an Asian woman. I don't exactly know from which Asian country, but she was Asian, right? And she was dating a white guy, right? And there was a black tourist in a store that they were frequenting, either a store or a restaurant, one of the two. This girl was busy calling this black person the N-word just because she was dating a white man, and those were the point of view of her boyfriend. So I'm asking myself, in what world can you not stand on your own 2 feet and conviction? Must you take the other person's, feelings and morals and wear them as your own? And people of color have done nothing to you, black people have done nothing to you, but because your white boyfriend is feeling a certain type of way, hopefully we can get that clip and include it. But because your boyfriend is feeling a type of way, you also adopt those feelings and start mistreating people. But I'm glad certain conversations are being brought up in the Asian community, and it's quite good to hear them say that indeed they do want to benefit from the white privilege or the close proximity of it.
Right, so guys, let us know what you think about this episode down on the comment section, and also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, and we'll see you in our next episode.